Alrighty. Hello and welcome to Live with Dr. J. And tonight I'm going to talk about Hades and Persephone. I'm going live on YouTube and on TikTok. So if I am talking down like this, I'm looking at my TikTok. So if anybody has any comments, then you can comment or ask questions on TikTok. If you're on YouTube, comment on YouTube. So thank you for joining, Sean. Hey, buddy, thank you. And Francesco and everyone who's joining. Tonight is about Hades and Persephone. If you haven't listened to this week's podcast, The Real Demons of Pop Culture, I highly suggest you do listen because I talk all about Hades in that podcast. So I didn't talk about Hades and Persephone specifically because I knew I was going to do this live. So obviously, if you have any questions about this, let me know. We're going to get into that, but let me just talk a couple times about things I want you to do. So yes, listen to the Real Demons of Pop Culture podcast. It's on all streaming platforms. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go listen to that Hades episode. You don't have to do that now. And I don't know why I got this thing that keeps coming up that says I'm talking about 5 types of gin. That was like so long ago, and I can't figure out how to get rid of that. Hi, Alyssa. Welcome. So what I'm doing is both YouTube and also on TikTok. Now, if you want to follow me on YouTube, you can do that because I will have a keynote slideshow that I will be putting stuff up on YouTube. But if you're cool with TikTok and you just want to hang out at TikTok and just listen to the Hades and Persephone story, that's fine with me too. So, Real Demons of Pop Culture, it's on all streaming platforms. Go listen to the Hades episode if you haven't already. It's a good episode. And I have a newsletter. So if you're on TikTok, everything here is available in my links in the bio. So I have a newsletter every week to keep up with all the Real Demon stuff. And there's a Facebook group. If you belong to Facebook, join the group because I put a lot of stuff on there, mostly about the School of Dark Arts, which is the name of the Facebook group. It's called the School of Dark Arts. I try to get a lot of stuff out there when it comes to teaching you guys about anything demon or occulty or anything like that. Welcome, Joel, and Matthew. So we're going to talk about Hades and Persephone. I don't know. If you listen to the episode, say yes in the podcast. In the comments. If you haven't listened to the episode, The Real Demons of Pop Culture, Mustafa, thank you for showing up. Lots of people joining in the TikTok. And, this is new, me doing lives on Tuesday nights after the podcast. So I expect TikTok to always be hopping, but YouTube's going to take some time. But I will be showing more graphics on YouTube. So if you want to watch over there, that's cool too. You can also throw up a comment on YouTube and I can put that up on the screen as well. So Hades and Persephone. That's what we're going to talk about in just a minute. Let me just pop up here. The weekly newsletter is on Substack. It's jamesippoliti.substack.com. You can find that. And the newsletter is every week. So that's one thing you can do. And the other thing you could do is join the Facebook group. It's the School of Dark Arts, or SODA for short. Facebook group. School of Dark Arts. All these links are in my bio. So let's jump into this here. Hades and Persephone. What is their story? Welcome, Fountain. What is the story of Hades and Persephone? Well, they are the king and the queen of the underworld. So the king and the queen of the underworld. Now, the underworld is also named Hades. So it's named after the ruler, Hades. But the underworld is not hell like you would think. The underworld involves all, if you want to consider it heaven, the Elysian fields is like where you really want to end up. That's part of the underworld. Tartarus is also part of the underworld. That's like the hell version. And then there's this kind of like milling about everyday everyday losers like me would end up. Like, thank you for the roses. Thank you. I have like all kinds of things. Like, I guess TikTok has this thing where you can ask people to send stuff. So I really enjoy that when I receive that. So we have to understand that first, that Hades is a place that when you die, you go there. No matter if you were good or bad, no matter what, you go there. When you get down into Hades, you then, well, first, the people who bury you have to bury you with either money on your eyelids or on your mouth or under your tongue, because you have to pay the ferryman to get on the boat, to cross the river Styx, to get over to the gate where Cerberus, the big three-headed dog, stands. And then you get into the gate, and depending on how you were in life, depends on where you go. So that's where we are. Like, that's the setting here. And Hades and Persephone are the king and queen of that realm. But they didn't start that way. Like, Persephone, who is Persephone? Let's talk about that. Give me a second here. If you're on YouTube, you'll see the graphics. If you're just watching on TikTok, use your imagination, just like SpongeBob would say. Hello, Emma. Hello, Reagan and Kristen. So we're talking about Hades and Persephone, and we set the setting where we know what Hades is. And if you have any questions at all, throw them into the comments. Would love to see questions if you have any. So Persephone is the daughter of Demeter, and she is the goddess of nature. So Demeter is one of the Olympian gods. So sister of Zeus, sister of Hades. She is the kind of queen of the earth, right? So we have Demeter, and she has a daughter, and it's her only daughter, Persephone. And Persephone is very attractive to these gods, right? To everyone. And how does she end up with Hades? That's the question. Well, Hades steals her. He kidnaps her. He abducts her. He is so in love. Now, we have to say he's probably in love with her beauty, because he knows nothing really about her. They don't hang out or anything like that. He is super lonely in Hades. It's a very dark, dismal, emo place. And so he's hanging out down in Hades, and he sees Persephone, and he's infatuated with her. Now, at the time, what Persephone is doing, she's up in the fields picking flowers, and she has these little nymph friends, and they're like hanging out by the water. She gets distracted. Now, some stories talk about a narcissist flower that distracts her, and that's why she walks off from her friends, and she's alone. And this is also planned. Now, there's two versions of this, but the idea is it's planned. Hades is like, hey, Zeus, I really want Persephone to be my wife. Let's make this happen. And Zeus and Hades plan on deceiving her and tricking her with this flower, I guess, is how she gets lured away from her friends. And now she's alone. And then while she's doing this, going after the flower, the world opens up. The earth opens up. It cracks wide open. And out from that hole in the earth comes Hades and his chariot and his black horses flying out of the earth and stealing our love, Persephone. If you have any questions, do you want any human cheese? I make really creamy cheese. It's like goat, but better. Sure, TikToker, email it to me. So let me jump back to, let's go right here. So we have this story going on, and we have um, Persephone getting stolen or kidnapped by Hades, and she is taken into the underworld. And this really upsets her mom, Demeter. She's like, where the hell is Persephone? By the way, it is Persephone. Some people think it's Persephone based on how it's spelled, but it's Persephone. So we have Persephone missing. So Demeter's like, holy crap, where is she? My daughter's missing. It's like a true crime. It's like Crime Junkies could do an entire like episode on the abduction of Persephone. So we have Persephone missing, and Demeter goes out, and there's a couple people. I'm going to actually switch my little screen here on YouTube, and we're going to jump to the next keynote slide, and we're going to talk about the players in the search for Persephone. So she's missing in action. No one knows where she is. The little nymphs by the water are crying because they screwed up. They weren't there to protect her. She ended up going missing. And Demeter comes, and she's like, what's going on? She finds like Persephone's belt under the water. She knows something is off. Something is not right. So we have Demeter, and she talks to Hecate. By the way, if you haven't listened yet to the episode about Hecate on the Real Demons of Pop Culture podcast, there's part of this story in her story, so go check that out. It's one of the earlier episodes, and I'm only on 10 episodes, but it still feels like it's been a while since I did that episode. But her story plays in because Hecate can find, like, she has these 3 heads on the statues of her because she can see in all directions. She carries a torch. She can light the way. So she is asked, like, hey, have you seen my daughter? Hecate's like, well, let's ask Helios. Now, Helios is the sun, right? So he's up in the sky. And because he's up in the sky, he's able to see everything that's going on below here. So what he does is he's like, yeah, I did see what happened. Hades broke out of the ground, and Hades stole Persephone and took her into the underworld, took her down to Hades. Hades took her to Hades. So Demeter's like, okay, well, he never asked me if he could marry my daughter. This is not the way to go about it. And I want her back. She's really upset. So she sends Hermes. You know, Hermes is the guy with the hat, with the wings, kind of like the Flash. He's got those wings on his shoes and he can go real fast. So he goes down into Hades. He goes and talks to Hades, and Hades is like, nope, you're not getting her. She's my wife. I worked this out with Zeus. We're in love here in the underworld. And this is not something Hades is going to give up on. So Demeter's like really upset about this. Actually, she's so upset. This is even before I think she talks to anybody, because while she was upset, the world was falling apart. There was famine. Things were not growing. Because she was so upset, she shut down and stopped doing all her duties. And that made the world fall apart. And that's when people started to, like Hecate and everyone, saying, we got to get involved in this. We got to find her daughter because she's really upset and the world's going to fall apart if she falls apart. So that's when they get down to Hades. They try to say, hey, give my daughter back, and he won't. So I'm going to jump over to the next slide here. So Zeus and Hades and Demeter, they end up having a compromise. And the compromise is that part of the year, well, actually, the compromise comes about because while Persephone is in Hades, she eats some pomegranate seeds. And in ancient times, in the ancient mythology, if you eat the fruit of one's captors, then you're kind of required to go back. And that's what happens. Now, Was she tricked into eating the pomegranate seeds? That's the usual story, is that she was tricked in eating the seeds. And because she was tricked, she is now required to come back down to Hades for a certain amount of time each year. Maybe she ate them on her own, not knowing the rules. Like if you eat that you're going to have to come back. Maybe she ate them because she liked him. And we're going to get into that. So if you have any questions on TikTok and you want to ask, feel free to do that. If you have any gifts you would like to give, I would appreciate it. I have some kind of goal that we have for this live. If you're on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment and we can talk about whatever it is. If you have any questions about Hades, not Hecate, Hades and Persephone, but we're going to get back into what happens. So now she's required to return to the underworld for a certain portion of the year, which is like fall and winter. She's got to go back down. And switch my little thing here. So the myth of Hades and Persephone is associated with the coming of spring and winter. When Persephone comes to the earth, it's springtime, and when she descends down to Hades, it is winter. So that's how we end up with the seasons based on this myth. That's really cool. It's a really cool myth that the ancients came up to explain winter, spring, summer, fall, all that stuff being explained through this story. Now, the question is, how does Persephone feel about Hades? Does she love Hades? We're going to have a couple. If you have, I have a poll on TikTok that you can actually vote on. I don't know how that works, but it's there, and you can vote whether you think she loved Hades or not. Feel free to do that. So, first of all, there's no way when he jumps out of the ground. Hello, Jane. Hello, welcome. Thank you for saying hello. And welcome to anybody who joins. So there's no way that Persephone had any love for Hades. She probably barely knew him. It's her uncle, basically. And he lives in Hades, and he never really comes out of Hades. So she probably just knew him by name. And she was doing her all hippy dippy flower power picking flower thing going on. So I don't think she had any love for him or even probably thought much about him until he kidnapped her. And at that point, I don't think she loved him. So the next thing, what about her mother or Hermes? What do they think? Hello, Amy. No, her mother did not believe that she loved Hades. In fact, her mother's probably pissed off at Hades the whole time. It's her brother stealing her daughter, forcing her into a marriage. So there we go with that. So, and Hermes went down to bargain to get her out of there, and he didn't have any feelings that there was any love for Hades. So in the beginning, definitely Persephone did not have any reason to love Hades. I mean, she's stolen. The other thing is he tricked her with these pomegranates. That's not really something cool to do. He should have gave her the option. Look, if you would love to come back every 6 months, eat a pomegranate, then we'll make this deal. He didn't give her a choice. So that's not really a good sign. That's kind of a red flag when it comes to love. But did she grow to love him? That's really the question. A lot of people believe that Persephone did not love him, obviously, because of the abduction of her. Thank you, everyone who's showing up. So there's no reason why she would love him in the beginning, being abducted. But that said, compared to other women in mythology, she made out pretty well. She was the queen of the underworld, and she had probably equal power in the underworld to Hades. She didn't have to hang out with him all the time, so she got a break from him. And she would come back and spend some time with him. But when she was down there, she definitely had a lot going on. Like, she was the one who's like, Orpheus, his girlfriend dies and he comes down to get her. And she's like, hey, let's let him go. And there's more of that story in the podcast. If you listen to the podcast, The Real Demons of Pop Culture, you'll hear the Hades story about Orpheus. But he also loved her, which is very rare in the Greek god stories. Like, he did love her. And for the most part, he was faithful to her. Hello, 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 everyone who's joining. Hello. So for the most part, he was faithful to her. And there is some infidelity that we will talk about in a second. That's could have happened, might have happened. But when you look at how the Greek gods really were, he wasn't as bad a guy. And remember, Hades is not an evil demon. He's actually a god of the underworld. And he's just there to make sure things are going well in the underworld. He's there. He's in charge of it, making sure the people who come in stay there. They don't get out. They don't cheat death. So he has his job. She does her part. They're pretty good as far as the strong power couple go. And when you think about the way women were treated in ancient times, they were only considered property. And she ended up at least in a better situation than most women in Greek mythology. So it wasn't awful for her, wasn't ideal. But it also could be that she loves him just because she's this young abducted female who was groomed to love him. So, I mean, there's no good thing when it comes to a relationship starting with an abduction. There's just no way around that. So let's talk about the possible infidelity. And that is Minth. And Minth is the nymph of the underworld. Nymph of the underworld. So the story goes that there may have been an affair with her. Hello from Macedonia. Welcome. That's so cool. I would love to visit Macedonia someday. So Minth is a nymph who possibly had an affair with Hades. And Persephone found out and was so jealous of it. Well, that's the question. Does jealousy equal love? I don't think so. I mean, whether she loved him or not, it doesn't matter. She's abducted. She's put into this marriage. She's in the underworld. And she could be angry at Minth if they had an affair just because it's like, look, you screwed me. You forced me to get into this relationship. And now you're screwing around with some nymph. So she got so pissed that she stepped on her and turned Minth into a mint plant. So I guess that's the origin of the mint plant, is that this nymph was cheating on, it wasn't cheating, was the mistress of Hades and ended up getting Persephone pissed off, and that's how she ended up a mint plant. Mm-hmm. So that was 30 minutes of talking about Hades and Persephone. And I would love to talk to you guys if you have any questions regarding Hades or Persephone. Ask me in the comments and I will answer them. If there's anything else you want to talk about, let me know. We're going to close house in a little bit. But if you haven't listened yet to the Real Demons of Pop Culture podcast on any streaming platform, go give it a listen to the Hades episode. That's this week's episode. The episodes air every Monday, every other Monday, like it's every 2 weeks. And hello, Brian Warner. Why does that name sound familiar? Lisa C., welcome. Cindy Christie, hello. Quite a few people coming in and out of TikTok. But the Real Demons of Pop Culture, every 2 weeks, there's a new episode. It's on Mondays. It usually Monday morning, you get up, you can do your commute and listen to the episodes. They're very short. They're like 20, 25 minutes. I have a lot of other things coming up soon. If you are on Facebook, join the Facebook group, School of Dark Arts, where I talk about a bunch of stuff. Check out my Instagram. I do Instagram every day. Obviously on TikTok, if you're following me on TikTok, I do superstition stuff, demonology. I'm actually going through a lot of the demons from the Ars Goetia. Goetia. I've heard it pronounced many ways. Goetia, Goetia. So I'm doing a lot of demons on TikTok, and I throw them up on on Instagram as well. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, Michael. Michael McDonald. That's a famous name. So if you have anything you'd like to know or talk about, now I'm on Twitter at James Ippoliti. You can ask me things there. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. Join the Facebook group. Get my newsletter. All this stuff is in my bios. So if you're on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, absolutely click on those. Got a lot of cool stuff coming up. A lot of stuff related to the occult and to demonology and all about this fun stuff. So if you're interested in that stuff, definitely follow me. And that's all I got. Love and mythology today. Hades and Persephone. Probably one of the better stories when it comes to love stories in the ancient world. Because most of them, the women, it's not very good for them. And let's hope we are better today. From some of these influencers that we hear, the awful things that they do. And some of these awful people on TikTok and YouTube who have these awful misogynistic viewpoints, some of those people never learned any lessons since the ancient times because they're pretty awful people. I forget the guy that everybody talks about now, but he's apparently a real jerk. And the problem that I have with that is that he's also very popular. You would think if you're that misogynistic and that shallow of a person that we would hope you don't have the following that you have. But they do, and that's frightening. So, if you have any, Savannah, hello. Hello to everybody. I am going to end the YouTube live, but I'll stay a few more minutes on TikTok. And if you have any questions. So yeah, let me jump into here.